How's it going, everyone? This is your Astrology Horoscope for Thursday, January 25th, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moonbase. Happy full moon in Leo. It's the first full moon in Leo that we are having with Pluto in Aquarius now. And if you remember last year on the Leo full moon, Pluto was still in Capricorn. Saturn was in Aquarius, getting ready to go into Pisces. Pluto was at the very end of Capricorn, getting ready to go into Aquarius for the first time, which we felt in February 2023. So the Sun and Pluto coming into Aquarius together that we just experienced. I'm hosting a reading sale on my website. If you want to go to the description in the video, all the links to all my platforms, Spotify, if you like the horoscopes there, Instagram. You can go to my booking website and check out the Pluto and Aquarius reading sale that's going to be going on until we get to Pisces season. So it's going to be going on for the next 3 weeks. I have 3 spots left. I had 4 yesterday. Now I have 3. So get that as soon as you can, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience of the Sun and Pluto coming into Aquarius like this. You know, and it's definitely this full moon we're starting to feel what it's really going to feel like. And Uranus is completely stopped. Like Uranus isn't moving at all. And less than 48 hours after this full moon occurs, Uranus is going to go direct. So Uranus dispositing Pluto and Aquarius, being the ruling planet of Aquarius. Like Uranus and Pluto are very much in communication here. And everything's exciting. Like we're moving into whole new territory and moving out of this grumpy Capricorn, just gotta grind and get to the top. And, now it's about like making connections, connecting with others and really having fun. And this full moon is saying, hey, it's like we have to really not be afraid to be vulnerable and express our heart from the deepest place. And with Pluto, that is getting to the deepest place in our unconscious, and when we can do that on this full moon, I think it's going to give us a lot of access to a lot of unconscious territory that we haven't had access to. This is, like kind of being granted the key to the next level of our unconscious, which is Pluto. Pluto rules the unconscious, the collective unconscious. So this is very much a deep unveiling of what our desires have been, because with so much Capricorn energy and the Sun in Capricorn and Mars, Mercury, it's great. Like we're laying the foundation for our future and, being called to really put in the work and put in the effort. And Saturn being the ruling planet of Capricorn, it's like that's where we get rewarded. And with Saturn in Pisces, it's like it has to come from a spiritual place, and it has to come from the divine. It has to be connected to some other source where you feel called to take the steps to initiate that process in the physical world. And as this full moon is happening, let's take a look. Here we go. 9:53 a.m. on the West Coast. The Sun in Aquarius, totally opposite with the moon in Leo here. Making this oncoming square to Jupiter and Taurus. So, it is a lot of our beliefs coming up and really being challenged. It may feel like, there's not many options, there's not many opportunities, and that's not true. It really comes down to your perspective with this. Aquarius is all about perspective, especially with these fixed signs. Fixed signs to me are all about perspective, because it's very easy to get into very fixed mode and only see it one way. Aquarius and Uranus, they see all possibilities, and it could be anything. And you only know what it can be when you're willing to accept and be vulnerable and go into unknown territory, But with the square to Jupiter, with this full moon to the Sun and moon, it's like you have to believe, and you have to feel it in your heart, and you have to know it in your mind. And what's really coming up, I think, a lot during this full moon is Mars making this exact square to Chiron, 15:51. Right as the full moon's happening, Mars is just 1 minute off the square. So it's like the exact square is happening right before the full moon. Mercury is almost about to conjunct Mars and also square to Chiron. And with this north node now at 18 degrees, it's like we're starting to really move forward here and, get more in touch with our identities and where we're feeling called to express our identities and are, being more confident in our ego. But at the same time, it's like these wounds come up where it's like you kind of, don't take the steps. This Mars square Chiron is where you kind of take a false start, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to go. And then, or if you've ever drove a stick, like a manual car, which that's not really a thing anymore. I grew up driving a stick. It's like, it's like if you take the clutch out too early, the car dies and you get the false start, right? And you have to start the car again. It's like this is very Mars square Chiron. So you can't be afraid to just initiate, and you can't really think with Mercury squaring Chiron. It's like you don't really want to think. You just want to trust your intuition and trust your instincts and trust that fire within you, with the North Node and Chiron in Aries and this full moon in Leo. So it's like we're being called to really express our truest heart's desire that like now we're coming into territory where it's not about just staying in one lane and going up the mountain and just trying to get to one goal here. This is about the excitement and the unknown. And what is exciting is the unknown with this Pluto and Sun in Aquarius, and and it's not being afraid to just step into the unknown territory. And this moon, as this full moon's happening, is still out of bounds. It's still out of bounds. It's coming back inward, but this is where, the most genius, brilliant ideas come in to the world, through some of the most brilliant minds. And we're going to see some of the most brilliant minds come onto the scene and pop onto the surface, and people that you had no idea, it's always the guy. Aquarius is like always the guy in the room who you thought was the nerd. And, no one ever really pays attention to them, and they just totally just come up with some new thing, or they say something that totally shocks and changes the entire scene, and it's totally unexpected. It's that guy in the room that you just never thought was going to make a real impact. And that's the kind of energy, especially with Chiron and Aries. It's like, there can be this kind of debilitation of not wanting to initiate things. Mars square Chiron is like this lack of initiation. And we don't want to do that. We want to believe and not be afraid to believe, because it's, there is this kind of limitation coming on with this Jupiter squaring this full moon. It's like, man, you don't want to be stuck in that Taurus land of like, I don't have many options. I don't have many places to go. It's like, it's kind of they're already there. All the options are already there. What is being manifested, what is being created has already been laid out, and with all this Aquarian energy and Uranus coming direct and Jupiter Uranus preparing to conjunct in April, and in the helio chart, if we look at the helio chart, Jupiter and Uranus are already starting to conjunct. And now in the helio chart, Pluto is now in Aquarius. So it's like once Uranus comes direct here on Friday, this is when we're going to start feeling this Aquarian electricity start to come through. We've been feeling it. We've been feeling this anticipation. It's almost like this anxiety. Not anxiety, just anxiousness. Anxiety is the worst word to really use for it, because it's not like in a negative context. It's like the anxiousness of like, I'm ready to go. I feel it coming on. But with this Mars square Chiron, it's like, how do I start? Where do I go? What's the move? I don't know what to do. Do I even have any options with this Jupiter squaring this full moon? It's like, yes, all the options are there. And really what the options are the things you've already been manifesting. And with this Venus in Capricorn is 0 or 2 degrees. Like this is like, we're going to start seeing things really manifest very fast. Because Venus knows it's on its way to sextile Saturn. which is really laying this concrete manifestation, and at that same time, it's going to trine Jupiter. So this is where things really start to pick up, and we're going to see physical results. And this relates to Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, the sun when it trined Jupiter. There were so many things over the past month that, we may have forgotten about. We may have not really realized what we were doing in the moment. And with this Venus coming into this very positive territory with Saturn and Jupiter, it's like, we're going to start seeing some real shit pop up here. And with this full moon too, it's making a quincunx to Saturn. This moon is quincunxing Saturn. So it's like, it can feel like a little off and just disjointed, and I don't even know how to express myself. But it's getting over this, Mars square Chiron, where you're just too afraid to initiate, too afraid to start. Like, I've seen this a lot. I've actually talked to a few people lately where it's like, I don't even know where to start. I had a reading the other day, and it's like, look, like there's so much potential happening. This person had a lot of Taurus planets coming into play with this Jupiter Uranus that's about to happen. And they're like, well, I don't even know where to start. And it's like, where do I begin? It's like, well, what have you been doing? For really, we can look at the past 12 years. We can look at the past 15 years with Pluto and Capricorn. The last Jupiter in Taurus was 2011. So it's really like it's all about the long-term buildup, the manifestation and the cycles. It's not just this like, oh, tomorrow this is going to be at this degree and it's going to make this aspect and all my good luck's going to show. It's not how it works. It's increments and inches and years sometimes, weeks, months, where things build up and it gets to a point like this where we've seen the sun, we've seen Mercury, we've seen Mars make sextiles to Saturn while trining Jupiter. We've had Jupiter sextile Saturn with that. Now we're going to see Venus. It's like, this is the moment. These are the moments where all the positive things start to show up, but it's what you've already been doing, it's what you've been putting in, And if you feel like you haven't been, you feel like you've been in this Mars Chiron or Mars square Chiron, feeling like I haven't done enough. Like maybe I haven't started or I haven't done the right things. It's like you have done the right things, and especially if you're really following your heart with this full moon. Leo rules the heart. Aquarius rules the mind. So it's when the heart and the mind are connected. And with Pluto there, it's like we're getting connected to our heart and our minds in the deepest ways. And for the next 19 years with Pluto and Aquarius, every time Pluto makes opposition to Leo planets, like it's going to bring up like the individual and the collective and the individual and the group and what that is. It's like the band on stage or the artist on stage and then the audience being Aquarius, Leo being the performer. It's like that relationship, It's like, yes, everybody now has an opportunity to utilize the technology to express themselves. Like, that's Aquarius. As long as you're learning how to use what tools you have to connect with others and express yourself. That's what this full moon is really bringing up, And hopefully for many of us, closing a chapter on being too afraid to initiate and being too afraid to start with this Mars square Chiron, This is a massive opportunity. And with a lot of this positive manifestation coming in, with what we're about to experience with Venus coming into great aspects with Saturn and Jupiter, it's going to give us the things we need. Like, the things are always going to be there that we need to make the future happen. Uranus coming direct is really going to kick things on. This whole week, Uranus has been stopped. We could feel the subtle, like, hum of, like, the electricity, right? But it's not fully on. Like, it's like, I'm a guitar player. So if you have a guitar amp on and you have the cable plugged into the amp, but the guitar's not plugged into the amp, it just makes a humming sound. Like, and then you plug the guitar in and then There's no noise until you play. Like, this is kind of like Uranus coming direct here. It's like there's a slight hum because it's not fully connected yet. So on Friday, this is when the connection and the intensity and the electricity is really going to turn on and start really moving forward at a really rapid pace. And the south node is off this weird angle to Uranus now, and Uranus is going to move forward, and the nodes are going to keep moving in their direction. So this is like, we've gone through so much the past. 2023 was pretty wild. We came into that year with Mars retrograde in Gemini. Personally, that was one of my least favorite Mars retrogrades I can recall in my 32 years of existence. That was tough. That was a hard one. Square Neptune, so coming into 2024, right when we came in on the 31st of December and the first Mercury and Jupiter went direct, bam, lights on. But this Friday is when the lights really come on, not just the emergency lights. Now the lights of the whole arena are going to come on and bam, and the show's going to start. This moon in Leo, this full moon in Leo is kicking off the show, and we all are experiencing our own show in our own lives. But we're also seeing in Aquarius land, and definitely still with these planets in Capricorn, the show in the world. We're seeing some of the weirdest things show up, some of the most unexpected things show up. But we're also seeing more people, and more important people who actually do have a voice, expressing themselves and expressing how they feel. And what we're seeing is this kind of flip, which is very Uranus, very Aquarian, where all of a sudden it's like you've known a certain figure, an individual or a person in your life who's always been consistent, which is very Taurus, just the same routine, the same, thought patterns, the same expressions. And all of a sudden with this Uranian, Aquarian, Pluto energy, it's just like all of a sudden they've taken a whole new shift into how they're expressing themselves. But it is true. That expression is true to how the times change. And things have changed so much in the past 5 years, and definitely since 2008, when Pluto moved into Capricorn and shit got real crazy. So this is a moment where the stage in our own life and the show in our own life and the show in the world is really starting to kick on and ramp up. And we have all planets coming direct by the end of this week, and the excitement's really ready to kick on. Like, this full moon is like saying, all right, we're moving out of Capricorn world, just old, grumpy, creaky Capricorn, where it's just like the electricity of Aquarius is just ready to move through all channels where the current can move effortlessly. And these next few months are going to allow some effortless things to occur. And with Jupiter and Uranus, it's like, there is a lot of luck coming through in a very kind of like gambling kind of way of just like, you take a big shot, from half court and you make it and you win the fucking game. Like, that's very Jupiter Uranus. So this is some amazing territory that we're moving into over the next 6 months. And we're not going to get this. It's like when all the planets are direct, which doesn't happen. It happens it's a very tiny window of all planets being direct. So this is the moment when you want to be really putting everything in, We've gone through all these retrogrades up until this point, up until this week, and we've had enough time to reflect and revisit things and redo things and, just take a chill for a sec until this moment. This is the moment where the lights are turning on and the show is ready to go and the band is ready to fucking rock, right? Like, the show is ready. The crowd is ready. There's been so much anticipation to get this show on the road, and this is the moment. But we have to remember, with Jupiter making a T-square to this full moon, That we have to believe and see past our limitations, see past our comfort zones, and not be afraid. And not be afraid to just believe. You have to believe, you know. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean you can't believe, you know. But if you don't believe, like, you're not going to there's going to be no results. Jupiter's going to bring none. So you have to have that faith. You know, Jupiter and Sagittarius, it's all about believing. You know, not just your beliefs and your opinions, but believing in what you feel and what you intuit, you know. Aquarius is much more your logic, you know, more of a left brain. Jupiter is much more of this right brain intuition. You know, I feel like I'm supposed to go here. And then the synchronicities start to play out. Like, when all planets come direct, like, we're going to experience synchronicity at the highest level. But synchronicity only occurs when you've been putting in the work and putting in the effort, planting the seeds along the way, and knowing that every action you take is for your soul's purpose and what you're supposed to do here. And we all have that. And definitely coming into what the world is coming into now, more people are waking up to that. That's been shut off for a long time, centuries, hundreds of years. You know, we're not all here just to, you know, bow down to a system that has no benefit for us. So this is the moment where people are like taking charge of their own show in their lives and having that faith. Jupiter's all about faith. So we have to believe that with this oncoming conjunction from Jupiter to Uranus come April, that the most exciting, amazing things are going to manifest in our lives, and they're going to. As long as right now, as the energy is kicking on, that we are laying out the groundwork and we are putting in the work. Mars is in Capricorn, Mercury, Venus is like, we have to put in the motherfucking work. Put it in. You know, and Mars, Mercury squaring Chiron, it's like, you just don't be afraid to just initiate whatever you're feeling. If you feel like this is what I want to do, like, fucking do it, you know, and do it with a purpose, and do it with the purpose of serving other people, you know. People look at, you know, all these billionaires and are like, oh, fuck these billionaires. Like, they're rich. Like, you know, they don't care about the people. It's like, well, if you really look about how a lot of these billionaires got rich, is because they had brilliant ideas to make life easier for human beings. You know, I mean, that's how people really level up in life, is that you have an idea that you like and you believe in and you're passionate about, but also can serve others and benefit their lives, whether it is just an individual or on a Capricorn, Aquarian way, the collective. But we have to believe, and we have to not be afraid to just hit the fucking gas and go. And don't look back. I mean, the planets are all direct, so we're not looking back here, you know. And in all reality, we just have to remember that when we're looking at a geocentric chart like this is a geocentric chart, okay? What this means is, from where you're standing on Earth, looking up at the sky, and where everything looks from your perspective of where you're at on this Earth, you know. So we only experience retrogrades based upon how the Earth's orbit and the other planets' orbit are passing each other, or Mercury is going faster than the Earth, right? That doesn't happen if you're just looking at it from a helio perspective, meaning from the sun's perspective. Like, every planet moves forward. There is no backwards. Time doesn't move backwards. So what we're experiencing on Earth with these retrograde cycles, that's only unique to us as humans on this Earth, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that time's going backwards or a planet's going back. It's actually not, you know, from a helio perspective. From our perspective, yes, it does. You can watch it in the sky. You can watch a Venus retrograde in the sky. You know, you can watch Jupiter retrograde. You know, you can watch it progress forward night to night if you're watching it. So we have to remember that we all have our own perspective. And Aquarius is all about perspective. The fixed signs are all about perspective. And Aquarius and Uranus want to have new perspectives and change perspectives and be able to innovate new things to, show that anything's possible, no matter what you think or believe. So this full moon is illuminating the heart and how we really want to express ourselves, as long as we're willing to believe that it's possible and that the best things are coming in here with this positive energy and this oncoming conjunction from Jupiter to Uranus. But it's not being afraid to hit the gas. You got to make a decision and just act upon it and not look back. That is the art. That is the art of creation, Now, actually doing the work is another question. So, allow this energy that's coming into play here. As the full moon hits and coming into Uranus going direct, like, we have to ride that current and use it to our benefit as much as we can. We only get these small windows of all planets being direct, So I pulled the Chariot card for this full moon, and there is this new oncoming welcoming of really bringing in your power and your truth. And also there is this kind of like protective nature, also of like what we are manifesting, what we are creating. We want to protect that. Leo is very protective over its own creations, right? Like, if you try to borrow from a Leo, like, he's like, hey man, you stole my song, right? It's like, that was my song. It's very Leo, or like, I see it in the comedy world, right? Comics stealing jokes. It's like, you want to protect what you are creating and nurture that, and believe that it's possible for anything to manifest, because this is the moment, and we're not going to see it for a long time. Jupiter, Uranus conjunct, especially in Taurus, when it comes to the physical things and resources that we need in life to really build a better life, and definitely a more exciting life with Uranus. And we want to be protective of that, and also understand that we have it in the palm of our hands. It's all right here. It's all right in front of us, and look at both sides of things. You got to see the black, you got to see the white, you got to see, the dual nature in all things, and not be afraid to look at both sides, not be afraid to look at your shadow. With the Chariot card, it is about being able to see your shadow, but also see the light, and that you can't really find, you can't really find the light if you're not willing to look at your shadow. So, we want to protect our creation, detach ourselves to look at both sides, and not be afraid to express our true Leo heart with this full moon in Leo. And also not be afraid and not stunt ourselves. This is kind of Mars square Chiron too, where we feel a little stunted, and feel a little insecure about things. Mars square Chiron brings up a lot of insecurity. It's like, oh, I'm not good enough, or, maybe no one will like my idea, or nobody will like what I have to say. It's like, as long as it's true to you and it's true to what you've dedicated your life to, and it's in the light to serve others, it will always find its way. And that's what this full moon is really bringing to light here. And allow this full moon to end these feelings of not feeling good enough and that low self-worth. Jupiter and Taurus making this square, it's like self-worth issues can come up, Taurus rules self-worth. And with Jupiter there, it's like, I believe that I am good enough. I believe that I do have what it takes to make the life that I want and manifest and bring all the things in, but I also do right for others and to make positive changes in your life that also influence people on a bigger scale and just in your personal life. It depends on how far you want to reach out, but wherever you choose to put your mind is what is going to come into this reality. We have to not be afraid to believe that and aim as high as we can. Like, we're not going to see a Jupiter Uranus conjunction like this. And this is the moment where we want to be confident to aim as high as we possibly can, but also be realistic. Taurus is all about realism, and it's like, yeah, if I can't, if I can't see it, it's not real, And this full moon is challenging Jupiter in that regard. And Jupiter is saying, hey, like, I want to see some results. It's like the Sun and Pluto in Aquarius are like, just trust me. Like, I'm going to show you things you've never seen before and take you to places you've never seen before and experienced. That's what Aquarius does. It gives us experiences that we've never experienced before. We taste things we've never tasted before. Taurus is all about the senses, So we have to be willing to step into that and not, step in and then step back out with this Chiron, So I hope this helps, and I hope you guys have a wonderful full moon in Leo. Be sure to check out my Pluto and Aquarius reading sale on my website. The link is in the description of this video to go to my website and book. I have 3 slots left. Go to my Instagram. I spend a lot of time there sharing things with people, talking to people. If you like to use Spotify, these horoscopes are on Spotify. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment, say what's up, ask a question. I really appreciate it. So I will see you guys when Uranus goes direct. Here we go. Peace out.